All right, Clint from the doorway too, hanging out with Charlie from Crawl Below. Very, very honored to be able to do this with you. Glad we finally got this done. He and I have been talking for about 5 or 6 days now due to me having internet problems and everything else, but we finally got a time. So again, thank you very much for doing this, man.
Yeah, yeah, my pleasure.
Cool. So I guess what I'm going to do is start a little bit on, you can kind of tell me a little bit about Crawl Below, how it began, and where you're at this point in time.
Yeah, so I've been in bands for 25 years or something, and most of them is just me writing my own music and projects and stuff. So I'm in bands with other humans, but the the crawl below stuff is more like me just putting out the music that I want to make that I don't necessarily need to involve other people in. And I play some acoustic stuff and whatever. So I want crawl below is sort of my like my heavier, darker stuff, and that's why the first album was like D beat black metal, and the
Mhm.
second one was like evil Irish folk acoustic stuff, and then this one is whatever it is, doom gaze or whatever. So it's just sort of whatever hits me, and it's just it necessarily has to have like kind of a darker, heavier bent to it.
Cool. Yeah, I was going to say the records are drastically different. Don't listen to one and try and think you're going to be able to pigeonhole the sound. So,
Yeah, I'm thinking that it seems like this one, 9 Miles, is the one that is getting more attention than others. So, people like it. I mean, I got to dig into their back catalog, and then they go back and they check, the other two. They'd be like, "This sucks." It's it's not none of them are for everybody. Like the first one I put out, I love black metal, but none of my friends like black metal. Like I have a ton of metal friends. I got like two people that like black metal. So I made this thing. I was like, "Hey guys, I made this CD," and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, it's good."
no, cool. I was going to say the early stuff I heard was really kind of raw, depressive black metal. So it was way different. But we're gonna focus on 9 Mile Square if we can, because that's the one that's really kind of like that's what made me want to do this interview.
Cool.
Uh, so I kind of want to talk about some of the influences that I hear. Now, again, I could be stone cold deaf on this, man, but this is just me talking about it. This is a guy that's been playing Death Doom for 25 years, and I've put out a dozen records myself. So the biggest influences I hear, and I'm going to go the way that I feel. So I'm going to say Middle Period Anathema is a really strong vibe for me. I'm going to say Life of Agony, the River Runs Red record, like, holy Christ, man, your vocals sometimes are spot on to that to me. It's like it's creepy how cool that is. And then the last thing I'm going to say is there's a shit ton of Catatonia for me, man, going on. And I think that's because of the more melodic side of doom metal and the shoegazing thing you do, and just how kind of melodic yet depressive the clean vocals are. And I think they work so well on what's going on. And I know a lot of people don't consider Life of Agony a doom band, but to me, that record is probably one of the most crushing, depressive records like I've ever heard in my life. So, am I close on what were influences, or like what were your influences for this record?
I took off my Life of Agony hat like 2 minutes ago. So, uh, yeah, well, Life of Agony is definitely one of the biggest influences in my musical life. Period. It's too bad that they broke up after River Runs Red. uh, if you
I
get my
agree.
drift. I think they had a couple songs after that they were good, but River Runs Red is just an unrepeatable classic, and I agree. It's people look at it as sort of like alternative hardcore because it was New York and stuff, but that is a doom riff. I mean
Right, right.
that's um, but yeah, my vocals are definitely influenced by Keith slash Mina.
Yeah.
Most people are more familiar with Typo, so I get the Typo thing a lot, and Typo of course is great, but Life of Agony has been much more an influence on me
Cool.
for sure. The only thing is that like Keith can really he's got that low kind of croonery thing, and then he can belt. I just don't have a belt, so I have to do everything real low, real quiet, baritone or whatever. That's just my MO, whatever. River Runs Red is a classic. As far as Catatonia, and the other one was one of those Peaceville bands, right? Would you say?
Yeah, Anathema.
Anathema. Not really. I get that a lot, especially the Catatonia. I can't seem to get myself to get into those bands. I've tried. Maybe I'm just listening to the wrong Anathema. Like the Anathema I've heard, it seems kind of new, and it's really like light rock kind of stuff, not very heavy.
Your stuff's way different. I'm talking about like Brave Murder Day and stuff like that. You should check that out. You would really get it. So
yeah, okay, I'll check it out. It's been recommended to me more times than I can count, especially after people hear my stuff, for sure. In your review, you also mentioned Yezu.
Yep.
Definitely was sort of an influence. I like one of his songs. He's got that song Silver, which I think is amazing. And then after that, like I tried to get into the rest of the catalog, and it sort of lost me. But that one song, you could definitely see a direct link between that and 9 Miles, except he's tuned like 2 octaves lower.
He is. No, cool. So I was going to talk about Yezu in a few minutes, but that's awesome that you brought it up, because that was the other side of the band that I really saw. But we'll talk about it now. That's awesome. So I hate the term black gaze. Okay, I really hate it, because it doesn't make any sense. Black metal and shoegaze, they fit together, yeah, but black gaze seems just like a weird dichotomy to me. Like, you can't be cold and depressive and have so much melody and feeling as what shoegaze does. So I really feel more that you are like a post-rock shoegaze kind of vibe mixed into it. And it's going to be influences of like Yezu. I'm going to say, I don't know if you've ever heard of a band called Caspian, but there's a lot of like, yeah, they're a post-rock band that's more on the metal side of post-rock. And you have a very similar vibe. So I kind of want to talk about the guitars being that Crawl Below is you. Like, it's all you. There is a very depressive yet hopeful guitar tone. And I know that's a dichotomy in itself of me trying to say it, but you bring sorrow and joy at the same time with that tone. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the guitars. Like, how did you get that sound? Because that is a sound that traditionally is very hard to pull off. So
yeah, I'm glad you hear that. A lot of the reviews that I've been getting, besides saying that the album is boring, touch on that, though, that it's both sad and kind of hopeful at once. And I really like that, because I do like melancholic music. That's kind of what I write. It's what I listen to. It's what my voice sounds like. It's what my face looks like. It all kind of works. But I find it really hard to get into bands that are just 100%. Everything sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Life is terrible. I like Typo, because Typo has a sense of humor about it. Like, life sucks, but they also make it funny. So I like that. So with 9 Miles, there's a lot of major chords and stuff. Mm-hmm. I think that helps. A lot of like big pop choruses. I don't shy away from using the word pop.
Yeah.
I think it's just super heavy, low-tuned pop, more or less. And that's sort of what I was going for. I didn't want just the straight, everything is awful, slit my wrists kind of thing. It's okay for it to be there, but I didn't want it to be unanswered and not have also like an upswing at some point.
Absolutely.
As far as the actual guitar parts go, one of my bigger influences, which probably is not immediately like recognizable, is Social Distortion.
Okay.
Like I cannot really get away from 3 and 4 chord progressions, So if you listen to the album, there's not a lot of actual riffs. It's just sort of like chord progressions, and it's all open chords. I don't use any power chords or anything like that. It's all, G major and D and all that kind of stuff. So I think that that definitely aids the sound,
Cool. Well, I got a huge love for Mike Ness, so man, that's cool as shit. Like, I saw them with Sonic Youth and and Neil Young and Crazy Horse
Oh
a long
man,
time
that's
ago.
a show.
Yeah, it was really good. They were the middle act between Sonic Youth and Neil Young and Crazy Horse. It was impressive. I can tell you, man. Like that is the punk rock of my punk rock, man. Like I love Social D, buddy. So but you can hear that influence in your music,
Good.
absolutely. Because that was the next thing I was going to talk about. Is there's a lot of kind of hardcore and punk rock elements in what I hear. Especially, it's more in the tonality more than in, I would say, the arrangements. I think your arrangements are a lot more, at least for this record, in that kind of post metal doom kind of vibe. But tonality, it's got that bite, especially in the drums. Like the drums have a real kind of punk rock ethic to them, in my opinion. So I kind of wanted to ask you, like, what punk bands or like what hardcore bands outside of the Life of Agonies or the Social D's that influenced you for that kind of sound?
You got a good ear because that's the punk and the hardcore is that's my roots. Connecticut hardcore kid
Yeah.
in the 90s, and I gravitated more towards the heavy, tough guy stuff back then, and but in most of the stuff that I write now, there's little trace elements of Hatebreed and Death Threat and that kind of stuff, and I'm a huge Misfits guy too, and yeah, it all kind of springs from punk. I think that I'm more punk than metal in a lot of ways.
Cool. I think it mixes that way for sure. And bringing up the Misfits is awesome too, because this Jersey boy here, I grew up seeing Danzig all the time, man. So like that's a cool a moment in time for me too. But you hear all that in this music. So I kind of wanted to ask you, like overall, with the new record, the 9 Mile record, uh, are you getting more metal fans, or are you getting more like indie hardcore kind of fans? Because the to me the record kind of mixes those both worlds in a pretty good way.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I've been getting orders for the CD all over the country, which is blowing my mind because we have a really healthy local metal scene where I'm at
Mhm.
in Eastern Connecticut, and I can't get those people to buy my stuff for the most part. Um, I can't. I don't know. I don't know one way or the other. I do know that all of my friends are metal friends,
Okay.
for the most part. So I sort of, I always have that metal thing in mind in terms of the tone and the heaviness and the guitar. And I think if you stripped the distortion out of the guitars, it would be an indie record.
Yeah.
And with a little bit of chugging here and there, but that's about it. But I wanted to keep that footing in the heavy stuff so that my metal friends wouldn't just completely dismiss it out of hand.
Well, and that's the thing I want to dig a little bit deeper in is, to me it's only a metal record because of the guitar tone. Like
Yeah.
literally, the vocals, the arrangements, the way it is, it's a lot more of, I would say, a hardcore and kind of a post rock and kind of like shoegazing kind of vibe. So when you came to write these songs, did you know that they were going to be drastically different than the last record that you made, or did you have no preconceived notion and just kind of went with what you did?
I wrote these songs like 8 or 9 years ago,
Okay.
and I recorded them as demos back then, and they didn't have any clean vocals. It was all death metal vocals.
Gotcha.
Um, so it was very much more of a death doom kind of thing. And they just sort of sat for a while, and I got distracted with bands and doing other stuff. And then actually a lot of this crawl below is me going back and recording stuff that I had written a long time ago. So my mindset back then was just I just wanted to do something super melodic. I was listening to a lot of early Alcest at the
Yeah.
time, and yeah, I just wanted to kind of do something there, adding some of the punk hardcore heaviness, like really slowed down, but adding that element to it, and it just made sense. Like, I'm 43, and I don't really want to scream anymore. I'm kind of, I'm not angry about anything anymore for the most part. So I just want to focus on clean vocals, and of course, this kind of music lends itself more towards clean vocals, I think. So
Cool. Cool. I'm 48. I totally get it, man. Unfortunately, I still want to scream. I don't know why, but I
Yeah.
still do. Um, but I want to talk about a couple of songs on the record, particularly. And they're the ones that kind of made me realize why I like what you do versus other people that do similar things, not so much identical, but similar ideals. Uh, the one that like spoke to me right away is Kingdom of Ruin. And that's just there's something about that song that I don't know if you can talk about it. I don't know if it's something that you feel, but there's this unsettled feeling about that song. Like there's something that's just at the end of it, when you finish listening to it, something's not right. And it just makes you want to listen to it over again to try and hear. And dude, sorry if profanity bothers you, but if there's something fucking wrong, like if there's like literally like, do I need to give you a call and be like, hey buddy, is everything all right? Because that song in particular does that to me.
Cool. That's actually the only one that I wrote recently. I wrote that in the last year. That was the last song that I wrote for this. And that song is about a massive mental hospital that's
Mhm.
here in town called the Norwich State Hospital. And the ghost hunters went in there and they did their thing and whatever. But it was this amazing Gothic cathedral looking campus, enormous, many, many acres. And the video that we shot for this, a friend of mine snuck in there and shot all the video of it from the inside. It's been closed down since the early 90s. But yeah, that it was a sad story. That asylum housed up to 3,000 people at a time. They lived there. And in the 90s, it was defunded, and everyone was either reclaimed by their families or just left. So a number of them walked a couple miles north into downtown Norwich and just lived there, like under bridges and stuff like that. And so it was a pretty heavy topic, and I'm glad that came through it in the song.
Oh, it did. The other one that I'm going to say is my other favorite on the record is it's Tarnish the Name. And the, words can't honestly tell you the emotions that that song stirs up when I listen to it. It almost feels like something that I would write. And I think that's why I really love that song because you mix the elements and this song is the perfect example of where I'm talking about sorrow and hopefulness all at the same time. Like there's almost two distinct pieces of the puzzle in that song. So if you could talk a little bit about that song to our viewers, that would be awesome as well.
For sure. You got to send me some links to your songs too. I'm starting to get interested. Um, yeah, that song is about Benedict Arnold, who was born in this city. Who hopefully everyone knows he was a major traitor in the Revolutionary War,
Yep.
and his where he grew up was like 2 miles from my house. And there's people in town that are pro Benedict Arnold. I don't understand that at all. And then there's others like me who despise him. But that's what that song is. And I wrote the music before the lyrics on that one, so maybe it's just a combination of the two. But that is definitely the angriest one on there. There's a close to here. There's a every September, and this is in the lyrics. Every September they burn him in effigy.
Hmm.
There's a big parade and stuff, and that's just about right as far as I'm concerned.
Perfect. So I kind of want to talk about. So I got a big chuckle out of this, and I'm not really sure if it's as serious. If it is, then I totally understand. But Lawnmower Jetpack Records. All
Yeah.
right. Is that your label or is that somebody else's label?
No, it's mine. I came to the realization that nobody is going to put my music out unless
Ah,
I do it, and it's a lot of old stuff that I've done, through the years. So far, it's all me. If somebody else was interested in doing a really crappy release on a really crappy label, I would definitely be open to that. But yeah, at this point, those are all projects that I am involved with.
cool. Yeah, I make the same pitch. I have my own indie record label that I do, metal and punk and indie stuff with too. And I tell them the same thing. If you don't mind, two guys with really small budgets doing a little bit of PR and hoping for the best, then man, come on aboard. Like that's the way we are.
Someone was asking me the other day, what being on Lawnmower Jetpack Records would entail, and I said, well, first of all, if you spent more than $50 recording, we're not going to have you. So if you recorded on anything better than GarageBand or a Fostex 4-track, then the answer is no.
Gotcha. So would you ever want Crawl Below to be a live project? Have you ever thought about doing it live?
I'm thinking about it now, not the black metal version, but with this stuff, yeah, I would like to, because it seems like people kind of want it. And it is just my speed as far as like playing it and stuff like that. And I have a bunch of friends, musician friends, that I could probably get involved. But a lot of the stuff that I'm recording with Crawl Below is I'm doing it myself, because I don't know that I have a lot of friends that would be really interested in contributing to recording it or anything like that. So I'm just doing it myself and that kind of thing. But I think if there was a call for it, I would definitely play this stuff live.
Cool. All right. So here's a couple of the tougher questions, and answer it the best you can. So if somebody was going to listen to 9 Mile for the very, very first time, they've never heard Crawl Below ever, and they're about to drop the needle on it for the first time, how would you explain it to someone that's never heard your band before?
I guess I would make comparisons to other bands, some of the ones that we talked about. But if they were unfamiliar, with the greater metal genre or whatever, I guess I would just say slow, heavy, sad pop songs that if you played it before you were thinking of falling asleep, then that would be just about right.
Nice. Awesome. So let's talk about the pop thing, because that's kind of what I wanted to wait for a bit to kind of see how you talked about it, and it makes me comfortable enough now to be able to talk to you about it. So I hear a huge, huge pop element on this record, where I think it may upset some metal fans, and I think that's a good thing, not a bad thing, because that's a really good thing. But it's pop in the way that like 50s and 60s rock was pop. It's dangerous pop. It's not the 2 minutes, let's play the same 808 kick drum over and over again and have the same repetitive chorus over and over again. It's the kind of pop music that's catchy enough that's going to make you listen to it over and over again. And then when you actually listen to the content, it's going to be something that you might dig into a little bit deeper. So was that done on purpose to add those really kind of tasty pop hooks in the record itself?
Yeah, totally. It's kind of like ironic pop, I guess. Mm-hmm. Like I don't listen to any contemporary pop or any pop that has come out since the 80s probably. But the formula, the songwriting formula, if you look at Social Distortion, it's intro, verse, chorus, verse, bridge. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that as long as you do it the right way. One of the things that definitely has stuck with me forever was growing up in the 80s. And see, I don't know if you're on that line where hair metal is a dirty word to you or not.
Not at all.
Yeah, so I grew up with all those, those 80s bands, right? So, the Poisons and the Warrants and all that stuff. And I was 10 or whatever it was. And even then I knew that it was kind of, it was kind of cheesy or whatever. But I was always like, I kind of wish I like the power ballads more than the other ones, right?
Sure.
So I can admit that now. I take jujitsu. I can admit to people that I like power ballads. So, but even when I was like a kid, I was like, I sort of wish one of these bands would make an entire album of power ballads, because I just like that, So going into this, I was kind of like, one of the criticisms that 9 Miles gets is that it's just a slow pace. There's no differentiation. There's no speed. It's just one flat kind of line straight across, and that's on purpose, because I just wanted to write a whole album of power ballads that isn't about girls,
Nice, awesome. So I grew up playing hair metal. I was in a hair metal band for many, many years. My stage name was literally CJ Bass with a Z. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah. So trust me, buddy. And if you want to dive back into your past and pick up two records, and I will tell you two records that are majority power ballads, hair metal. One
Taking
of them,
notes.
yeah, one of them is Steelheart, and that's their self-titled record, and the other one is the very first Firehouse record. If you listen to
Gotcha.
those two, you will literally have nothing but albums full of power ballads, my friend.
Nice. Yeah, I had, remember when they did I can't remember the name. Did a compilation where they would sell it on TV and commercials, and it was just the power ballads. Oh man, I can't remember. It had a good name, but I bought that. I had it's two gummy bears. It had
Nice.
it had uh, no one's home in my house of
Right.
pain. You know, all
Yeah, the Faster Pussycat. I remember them. Yeah.
uh,
Cool, cool. No, awesome. So I guess I kind of want to talk a little bit about the way you're presenting the music. So I know you have a limited run CD. I know you're doing it digitally. Um, is there ever a thought of maybe adding different or other formats as well, or are you just happy with keeping it limited on the physical and trying to keep it more on the digital side?
I guess I'm open to anything depending on demand. I would print more CDs or whatever if it was asked for. Frankly, I'm just used to people not caring, so I don't print a lot of CDs. My old band, we did a run of 250 7 inches, and I have 220 of them in my basement. So I just got to a point where I'm like, I've put out so many things and done so many bands, and I'm not trying to be self pitying because I think that a lot of there's so many bands, there's so much music, there's so many things out there taking people's attention that things get overlooked and whatever. So that's fine. But I just got realistic, and I'm like, I'm not going to make 50 of these and keep 25 in my basement to
Sure,
waste
sure.
time. That's sort of where it is. But if there was a demand for it, I would do it. Sure. My next project that's coming out soon is a grindcore, an English death metal grindcore band that I do with my daughter. It's called
Nice.
Animal School Bus, and she did all the vocals when she was 2, and then I had it remixed, and she's 9 now. We did a couple new ones. That one I'm going to print a lot of because it's got a gimmick that people will buy.
Awesome. That
But
sounds cool.
if it's just old Sad Eyes writing songs in his bedroom, like people don't, it doesn't really fly off the shelves, if you know what I
I,
mean.
dude, I understand. Trust me. Uh, but no, I was just gonna say there's a big cassette culture for this kind of stuff. So you may want to think about dropping some cassettes because they move faster than CDs. And
Really?
I'm just like, yeah, people love the tape format for this stuff. Vinyl's super expensive. I would never tell anybody to do vinyl unless you know you can make the money back. But you could do a run of 100 tapes dirt cheap. And I'm gonna tell you right now, you'd probably sell 50 of them before you know it.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, I would that's just a thought process, man. That's something I would really recommend.
Note to
Um
self.
yeah, and this is coming from a guy that's worked for record labels, ran record labels and done PR for oh God, I'm old, 30 plus years now, man.
Yeah.
And I feel that would be a good vibe. On that topic, I want to talk about this album cover because the album cover and the music seem diametrically opposed from each other. Like it doesn't look like a doom or a more depressive or a more kind of shoegazy kind of record. Talk a little bit about the album cover and why you feel it's a good fit for the 9 Square Mile record itself.
All of my Crawl Below covers are thematically similar. They're all real dark, like probably darker than they should be. The print is darker than it should be. I think that's coming from that black metal aesthetic of like, if you can't read it, I don't care, kind of thing. Um, the cover for this one is a very old drawing of Norwich from an aerial view, probably before they even had aerial view, but somebody drew it, and I just thought it was awesome. I mean, it might be 100 years old. This
Okay.
picture, and Norwich doesn't look like that anymore. But all the songs on this are about history, so I really liked it. And then of course they changed the colors and darkened it up and stuff like that. But that was kind of because it is a theme album about the city. I wanted something directly related to it.
Cool. So let's talk a little bit about other people's impressions of the record, because I'm always really interested to see, since I don't get it, you get it. Um, has there been any feedback, reviews, or anything positive or negative? I don't care which way you want to go, that have just shocked you. Like you were not ready for it when it came, either in the best way or the worst way, that either made you say, no, I can see what they're talking about, or, oh man, that's way off base.
No, I got way more reviews for this than I ever expected, to the point where it was like overwhelming, and the vast majority, I would say, they're all in some way positive.
Okay.
Maybe it's just people who listened to it and didn't like it just decided not to review it, which is fine. Um, a lot of them had the common criticism that it is somewhat repetitive and samey throughout, but that was intentional, so I expected that. Um, No, I don't think anything particularly shocked me. The only things that I noticed is like is kind of that theme of sadness and melancholy, and that was all like intended. Some people, some of the interview or the reviewers, and you're one of them, and the angry metal guy was another one. Definitely heard stuff that I didn't intend. Um, in like a really good critical ear. Like you noticing the punk stuff in there is like, that's one of those things that I didn't expect anyone to take away from this. So there's some reviewers out there that definitely have practiced ears with this stuff and could pick out little minute points and stuff. And then there were others who just like, it's really slow and it's heavy and you probably cry.
Yeah, those are the paid by number reviews that you always get, and you're like, why? Why did you even bother? Like, thanks for the press, but why?
Right.
Cool. So I guess what I'm going to ask now is, moving forward with Crawl Below. Is there material ready for more releases, or do you not think that far ahead? Like, what direction are you looking to go, being that every record's been different?
I've already recorded and finished the next one.
Okay.
It's been done. It's been done for about 4 or 5 months, and I need to send it for mixing and mastering and all that kind of stuff. But it's pretty much ready to go. So I'm gonna do the Animal School Bus CD next, promote that, and then the next Crawl Below will come out after that. The next Crawl Below is Death Doom, with almost no clean vocals. It's ugly. It's really slow. And it's old too. It's another thing that I wrote years and years ago or whatever. Um, but given the response that I've gotten for 9 Mile, I would guess that the next one after that will kind of go back towards that territory. And I have some ideas, but I'm guessing it'll be more of the 9 Mile style.
No, I look forward to the more old school Doom Death stuff, man. That's my wheelhouse. So I can't wait. I can't wait to hear it. And I'm going to tell you right now, if I don't hear the Animal School Bus, I'm going to be really fucking disappointed. So like, I can't wait to hear that. Like, that sounds super cool.
That one's ready to go. That one's coming out in April. So.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. So I guess what I'm going to ask you is, being that you're probably going to get labeled as a bedroom band. And I again, I hate that fucking term. Like, it's such an annoying term, because bedroom bands yeah, I get it, but that's not what, I get the same label because, it's me and one other guy doing everything. And, we haven't played live a lot. But there's so many of those bands out there that are literally horrible, where they don't try, where it does literally sound like a crappy 4-track that never really should have ever been released. How do you feel that this record, like you're saying to me, finally got out of the darkness and people are actually interested in it and they're finding you? What do you think the difference between this record and the other two, or anything else that you've done, is the difference in being a unknown bedroom band to being an actual creative musician that people want to hear?
I don't know. I don't know. I never push my own stuff that hard. Like, even on my own personal Facebook page, like I feel really guilty like spamming people with my songs and stuff, and I just feel weird about it. And I'm just imagining everyone like going unfollow, because they're just sick of all the stuff. So I feel I feel I'm just not very aggressive with it, and just sort of used to people. Like I said, I'm just used to people just being kind of ambivalent to it and whatever. So why this one is sticking out a little bit more, I don't know. I think it's more accessible than the other two in a lot of ways, and that's about it. I mean, as far as the bedroom project thing, I don't have a problem with somebody thinking that or labeling it that, because that's what it is. I've recorded in studios before, and I've just found that I'm not good enough a musician to record in studios. Like I take way too much time. It costs way too much money. I had one of the guy who did this one, who mastered this, mixed it for me, is Black Metal Dave
Hmm.
here in Connecticut at Studio Wormwood, and he's done some amazing bands. Really, he worked at Morrisound in Florida. Like he's the real deal, and he had to teach me how to sing. I was recording on the mic, and I would turn and look at him. And he'd go, "Nope, not that. You got to do it again, do it again, do it again." So it just got to the point. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this at home, and I'll send it. And if it's of a lower sound quality, I just don't care. It's fine. It's what it is. And in a lot of ways, I am sort of contemplating like going backwards and almost going back to that 4-track sound, um, just because I like it. I like the '90s, and I just like that ugly sound. I don't know if you've heard this band. Are you much of a black metal guy?
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Yeah.
There's a band that came out last year called Old Nick,
Yeah.
and they're amazing. I've been a black metal fan for 25 years. This changed my life, Old Nick. The kid records everything. As far as I can tell, he records it on a 4-track cassette, and it's unreal. If you're not a black metal, it's super raw, right? So it's going to immediately discount most people right out of the gate. But if you can get past that, it's just fundamentally really good, like Norwegian sounding black metal with just crazy pop synth on top, like J-pop, K-pop, weird dance hall synth on top, and it should not work, and it's beautiful. It's amazing. So I'm listening to that going, I gotta go back. I gotta record on cassettes, and it's very, very influential.
I was gonna say the same thing. I was just gonna say it's like J-pop raw black metal. That's exactly what it reminds
Yeah,
me of.
and if you took the synth out of it, you would be like, this is just really good riffs, basement black metal, and it's
Right?
awesome. And you put that stuff on top, and it's silly, and it's not serious, but it's high quality music
Very,
writing. I
very.
love it. Can't get enough. And he puts out an album like every month.
Yeah, I know.
In 2020, he put out 4 albums and like 3 EPs, like crazy.
I know. Kid's
I love
nuts.
it. My favorite new band by far.
Cool. There's a Japanese band that they're called Shiv, and they kind of do the same thing. It's kind of like uh, dance pop mixed with raw black metal, and it's like one of the most interesting goddamn things I've ever heard. So no,
I got to
very.
get out. That's SHIV
Yep.
on it.
Yeah, SHIV. I think it's Shiba with an A. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, but they're from Japan. Check it out. They are just crazy. Like it literally is like raw black metal with like J-pop and pop sensibilities. It's amazing. So
It just
um
shouldn't work, but it does.
yeah, and it works so well. So we are very like-minded folks in our musical taste. That's funny. Maybe that's why I like what you do so much. But anyway, uh so I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on this. So what do you think doom metal is? Like by definition, is there one or two bands that are the epitome of what doom metal is to you? And I'm not talking about stoner, I'm not talking about stuff, but like true doom metal. Is there a band like if you hear the word doom metal, that band immediately comes to mind?
Yeah. Saint Vitus, Earthride, Hour of 13. Although they have some like Nwabum to them.
Yep.
They're really good. Uh, yeah, I tend to like. Have you heard the Wounded Kings from England?
No, I have not.
Phenomenal. Check those guys
I
out. They're
will.
like trad English doom with his vocals. I stole his vocal style a little bit. It's really good stuff. But yeah, my preference for doom is definitely like straight down the line, traditional, clean vocals. What's that Finnish band?
I'm not sure which one.
Doom all over the world. You know, the guy can't sing for no. I can't remember the classic Finnish doom metal
It's
band.
it's not
But
sentenced, is it?
no,
Uh,
it'll come to me as soon as
all
we
right.
get off the call. But anyway, I like clean vocals. I don't like this. You know, if I want to listen to stoner stuff, I'll listen to that on the side. But I like good down the middle. You know, Earth Ride and you know that kind of stuff.
You said Saint Vitus. That's all that matters to me. Like
Yeah.
literally, buddy. Like that's when I think of Doom, that's exactly what I think of. I think of Vitus.
Reverend Bizarre. Reverend
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Oh, Reverend Bizarre. Okay, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's still I got you total. But yeah, it's that side of just Doom to me too. Like a lot of those kind of bands, like Electric Wizard, like that kind of stuff. Even maybe to a lesser extent, like Orange Goblin and stuff like that. They kind of do that very traditional Doom. Cool. Um, if there was one style of music that you wish you could have put in to Crawl Below and haven't done it yet, what would it be and why?
Oh, that's a good question. The first the first one, the black metal one, had I wanted to mix raw black metal with hardcore, like discharged drums, kind of D beat hardcore. I'd say hardcore. I the reason that most of my friends didn't like that album is because they don't like black metal or hardcore. Like I don't know if you noticed this lately, but there's just in the last few years that maybe as a resurgence to metalcore, uh, true like 100% metalheads just have no time for hardcore. They just think it's thuggish or too hip
Yeah.
hop or whatever it is. And that's I love hardcore. I love almost all hardcore. So I, I I would like to at some point do something that's a little more straight down the line hardcore, with punk beats and stuff like that. But I'm held back a lot by my voice. I just cannot produce an energetic, clean singing voice. It's just that Joy Division, low
Gotcha.
voice. And if I can put any energy into my voice, it has to be black metal, and there's no in between. So I'm a little hindered by that voice. So if I did a really like high energy, uh, hardcore sounding album, and then it's just my "Oh, I'm gonna sing about sad stuff." I just think like that. Who's this is like second rate Morrissey singing the death threat. That's not gonna sound good. You know what I mean? I'm a little hindered by that, but I would say maybe that like that Wolf Brigade, like just
Oh,
deep kind of thing.
Jesus. So that really kind of grinding D beat kind of hardcore thing.
It just
Very
seems, yeah. I love D beats are just where it's at.
nice.
I prefer D beats to blast beats all day.
Hey, I'm good with that, man. Because I'm gonna tell you, D beat death metal is probably some of my favorite stuff out there. So no,
Oh,
that's I agree, man. And then what you were just referencing to me is like, you being a big hardcore guy. I mean, we could have this conversation for hours. I'm not gonna do this to you, but you were given like in my head right now. I'm just like looking at the whole Bridge Nine discography. Like
oh
that's the
yeah,
kind. Like that's kind of like what I'm looking at right now, like the way you were talking about it. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's awesome, dude. Um, so I guess what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start wrapping this up, being that we've talked for like 45 minutes already, man. That's pretty cool. But so I asked this question to everybody, and I love getting the interpretations from each and every artist. So if you could have somebody take these songs from 9 Mile Square, record them and make them their own, is there any artist that you would want to do that and why?
Oh wow. Um, I think the popness of these songs could lend themselves to some pretty mainstream people doing these songs if they were to speed them up and add, I don't know, some other elements or whatever. I don't know. I guess the first one comes to mind would be like Mina Caputo singing,
Gotcha.
although her voice is so much different than it used to be. Um, That's a good question. I don't even think I have an answer for that. I think I would love to hear different stylistic interpretations of it, for sure. Um, I don't even know. That's a good question. That's got me stumped.
No, that's cool. That's awesome. I'm just gonna tell you personally, I would love to hear a cold wave band kind of do what you do because
Yeah.
yeah, because the emotions are there. Uh, so something along those lines, I think would be really really cool. Like something like that 80s post punk kind of cold wave kind of vibe. I think would be really cool.
Cold Cave,
'Cause
Soft Kill.
yeah, I was gonna say Cold Cave for sure. Yeah, but yeah, stuff like that. I was gonna say very much. I think would be super interesting because I think it lays elements of that in the music already, and it would just personify it even more. Um, so what I'll do is I'll give you the next couple minutes to kind of talk about your projects, talk about what you're doing. I know we've kind of done it a little bit, but if you got anything else going on, let the as I jokingly say, the hundreds of people that are going to watch this know all about you.
Cool. Um, I should have written down a list of all the things I have coming up because there's a lot of them. So I'm in a couple bands with actual humans. I'm in a band called When the Deadbolt Breaks, which is a band that's been around for a really long time. It's psychedelic doom, super heavy, clean vocals, screaming vocals, and I'm the new bass player in that band. So I don't really write in that band, but they're an amazing band that I've been following for years here in Connecticut, and they're definitely underrepresented. And I can't announce it, but there's a label that we just signed to.
Very
They're a
cool.
pretty well-known doom label. And we have a new album coming out that I did play on, and that should be coming out in the next couple months. So again, that's When the Deadbolt Breaks, and they have a really extensive discography that you can check out. It's Bandcamp and every other place. That's really really good stuff. I'm also in a band called Sentinel Hill, which is like stoner rock, heavy rock kind of stuff. Extremely different from this 9 Mile Square kind of stuff. Animal School Bus, which is badly played Napalm Death and Carcass Worship with a 2-year-old girl singer. So that's coming out in April, and that's a really fun one. That'll be a good one. And another Crawl Below coming out after that, the Death Doom one, and I'm just always working on stuff. I would just tell people if you're interested, just look at LawnmowerJetpackRecords.com, and that's where all my upcoming stuff will be mentioned.
Very cool, man. So Charlie, man, it's been an absolute goddamn pleasure. I'm so glad we got to do this. I'm glad that I get to expose your kind of music and more underground bands. That's kind of my thing. I really wish more people would look at the smaller bands and not jump on the bigger bands all the time because there's so much good music underneath everything else, and people just need to take the time and listen. I am definitely gonna make sure that there's Bandcamp links for you as well as your social medias on this as well. Again, if you ever do anything live, please let me know because I'd love to be able to see it as well too. Other than that, I definitely will send you some of my music like you asked, so you can kind of check out what I do too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
stay in touch, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. Again, Clint from the Doorway too. This is Charlie from Crawl Below, and thanks, man. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thank you. It's a good time.
Absolutely.